Chapter 1. On our wedding anniversary night, I couldn't wait for my wife to come home and instead received a divorce notice. "Let's get divorced, Jincheng is back." I crossed my legs casually. "If you kneel and beg me, I'll consider it." "What a joke. You were the one who wanted to get married, and now you're the one who wants a divorce. What are you thinking?" After receiving Jiang Nuanyuan's divorce notice, I didn't reply anything. I silently threw the bouquet I had prepared for her into the trash, and also cleared away the elegant but bland candles and Western dinner. These were all things she loved, but I could never bring myself to like. Probably anxious from not getting my reply, Jiang Nuanyuan came back quickly. When the door opened, a strong mix of complex aromas rushed toward her, and her pampered face froze as she frowned and covered her nose and mouth. But it wasn't really anything extraordinary, just the combined smell of stinky tofu, river snail noodles, and fried salty fish. After clearing away the elegant dinner prepared for our anniversary, I immediately ordered a bunch of strongly flavored takeout. Since marrying this refined and elegant young lady, I hadn't enjoyed these common pleasures for a long time. It's not that I particularly like these strong-smelling foods, but because Miss Jiang Nuanyuan, who had always lived a privileged life in high positions, really disliked such smells. Yes, I did it on purpose. After adjusting for a while, Jiang Nuanyuan was still frowning, but at least she lowered her hand from her face. "Lu Junsheng, let's get divorced." Without any pretense, I didn't waste words either. "Fine, but all the assets, including the company, will be mine. You'll leave with nothing." Jiang Nuanyuan's frozen face showed surprise again. "On what grounds?" "On the grounds that you were the one who proposed marriage, and now you're the one asking for divorce. We've been married for 10 years, and you never agreed to have children with me. Were you waiting for your old flame all along? Using me like a dog on a leash? I can give you everything except the company. The company was left to me by my parents. It has nothing to do with you." "Nothing to do with me?" "If it weren't for me, her family's struggling company would have been gone long ago. But now, forget about credit, I don't even get recognition for my hard work." Jiang Nuanyuan didn't give me a chance to argue. After speaking, she turned and left without looking back. Same as always, walking away at the slightest displeasure. But this time, I wouldn't chase after her. Before noon the next day, a divorce agreement was sent to my phone. Looking carefully, it was just as she said, everything except the company would be mine, plus an additional $5 million in compensation. On the surface, it might seem fair, but what about my youth? Isn't my youth worth anything? Chapter 2. 10 years ago, Jiang Nuanyuan's parents passed away unexpectedly, and her family's company faced financial problems, nearing bankruptcy. That's when she started getting close to me. Perhaps being a businessman's daughter made her a businesswoman too. Rather than risk marrying into a family that might leave her with nothing, I, the nouveau riche's son, seemed easier to handle. I took all the money my family had worked hard to earn, $3 million in total, and married her with it as a bride price. She took that money and threw herself into the business. I have to admit, Jiang Nuanyuan was indeed very capable in business matters, and quickly revived the company. I also earnestly played the role of a good husband, accompanying her to various events, entertaining all sorts of people, building connections, and finding opportunities. Without me, Jiang Nuanyuan might not have gone bankrupt or been left with nothing, but she definitely wouldn't have her current status and position. Now that her old flame is back, she wants to dump me. Does she really think I'm that simple? Since she's the one who first betrayed me, she shouldn't blame me for fighting back. Neither of us should complain about getting dirty. Last night, I wasn't idle either. Immediately countered Jiang Nuanyuan's divorce agreement with my own, still demanding she leave with nothing. A day has passed, and Jiang Nuanyuan hasn't replied with a single word. Truly, no one in the world is better at the silent treatment than her. But this time, no one will indulge her. I picked up my phone and carefully typed, "Jiang Nuanyuan, this is your last chance. Miss this opportunity and you'll have to deal with me for life. Even if you later agree to leave with nothing, I won't let you go. Don't regret it." This time she didn't stay silent, but replied coldly, "The company is mine. See you in court." Every word drips with disdain. Indeed, 10 years of marriage couldn't change the fact that she looks down on me. How laughable. She took my courtesy as her due. Since marrying Jiang Nuanyuan, she gave me a position in the company, though always one level below her, but with some authority. Since she looks down on me so much, I naturally can't let her have it easy before we go to court. I gave all the important employees paid vacation and sent them to Europe, America, Australia, and various other places at my expense. No, wait. I'm not divorced from Jiang Nuanyuan yet, so half the money spent sending employees on vacation is actually hers. Using her money to send her employees to the ends of the earth. Killing two birds with one stone. I can't create huge waves to crash the company, but I can certainly make her miserable. With all the employees sent away, I naturally won't go to work either. Time to enjoy some rest. Eating and sleeping, sleeping and eating. This is the best kind of vacation for ordinary people. I haven't had such a good time since marrying Jiang Nuanyuan. But good times don't last long. After all, this move brought back the workaholic who rarely came home, especially after her old flame, Jincheng, returned. My wife, who usually came home once every 7 days, has now returned twice in just 3 days thanks to my little scheme. I'm too good at this. Lu Junsheng, have you gone mad? Jiang Nuanyuan rushed to the bedroom, looking down at me lying on the bed as she questioned me. I copied her cold treatment and said nothing, not even sparing her a glance, continuing to play with my phone. This person, so self-important, despising others, always wearing that confident face of having everything under control, even with the person sharing her bed. Getting no response from me, Jiang Nuanyuan's composed face seemed to crack slightly. Apparently, even someone who dishes out the cold shoulder can't take it themselves. What else do you want? My terms were already generous. The company belongs to my family. It can't be yours. Yes, the company I help you save with all my effort belongs to your family. Only I, the nice guy, don't belong to your family. I couldn't be bothered to waste words with her. Using the cold treatment I learned from her to perfection. I could clearly feel her growing more agitated. Perhaps realizing she was about to lose her composure, she took several deep breaths and, like during our previous arguments, turned to leave with an angry face. How amusing. Does she think anyone will chase after her now? Let her go if she wants. Just don't be embarrassed when no one comes to comfort her. Then suddenly I realized, if I don't comfort her, her old flame will. Damn, suddenly I'm not feeling good about that. I don't want to let them have it easy. Chapter 3. While randomly scrolling through my phone, thinking about how to deal with these two cheaters, I suddenly came across an old photo of Jiang Nuanyuan and me taken after waking up from an afternoon nap. It's quite funny when I think about it. In 10 years of marriage, we don't have a single photo together except our wedding photos. The few photos I have of her were all taken on my random impulses. In the photo, Jiang Nuanyuan wore a black lace spaghetti strap dress that faintly revealed her fair skin. With her clean, gentle face, no man could resist being moved by her. Back then, Jincheng hadn't returned yet. While I wouldn't say Jiang Nuanyuan was particularly passionate towards me, at least she wasn't as cold as she is now. Thinking about this, an idea formed in my mind. There was someone who suddenly added me on WeChat after Jiang Nuanyuan mentioned divorce, but hadn't sent any messages yet. It was obvious who it was, so I immediately posted that photo I'd taken who knows when to my moments with the caption, "It's been a while since I've taken an afternoon nap with my wife." I set it to be visible only to Jincheng, curious to see if he'd react. Even if he didn't, it wouldn't matter. Only he could see it, so I wouldn't lose face. As it turned out, I was wrong. Not even 3 minutes after posting, that guy couldn't sit still anymore. "Can we meet?" I was puzzled. Was he stalking my profile? But I stayed calm, wanting to see what this homewrecker looked like. I'd always known Jiang Nuanyuan had a boyfriend during her student days, a relationship of 5 years. I'd never met him, nor did I need to, because she said she'd cut ties with him completely and would only have me from then on. But who would have thought? I finally met him. Maybe it was prejudice, but Jincheng gave off exactly the same vibe as Jiang Nuanyuan, clearly a privileged young master who grew up pampered. The best thing about dealing with such people is that they're always proper. You can't even get into an argument, let alone a fight. I had barely sat down when Jincheng started apologizing. "I'm very sorry. I didn't know Nuanyuan was married. I didn't intentionally mean to destroy your marriage. I'm truly sorry." I was baffled. If you're sorry and didn't know, shouldn't the right thing to do be to leave and never appear before me again? Instead, you call me out for a friendly chat? After finishing his seemingly sincere apology, Jincheng launched into a long speech about his unforgettable 5 years with Jiang Nuanyuan during their student days, and how reluctant they were to part. It was such a moving tale of vows and promises that apparently the whole world should weep for them. But I was completely numb. Why'd he call me out? To make me listen to his touching love story, move me to tears, and willingly give up Jiang Nuanyuan to him? I take back what I said about him being similar to Jiang Nuanyuan. He's not nearly as straightforward as she is. Out of basic courtesy, I forced myself to listen a bit longer, but how could someone be this long-winded? After listening to Gu Jincheng's self-indulgent monologue for who knows how long, my brain wasn't my own anymore. My eyes started losing focus, and my mind began to wander. Chapter 4. Here is the English translation. Jiang Nuanyuan and I weren't particularly in love. Just as she approached me, my marriage to her was the result of weighing pros and cons. My parents were working-class people with little education, but fate didn't disappoint this couple who loved life. They managed to provide me with a comfortable life through their small salted fish stall. As business improved, they sent me to an elite school like other wealthy kids. It was there that I realized social class barriers couldn't be crossed with money alone. At school, the most common thing I heard was, "A salted fish that flips over is still just a salted fish." That's when Jiang Nuanyuan approached me. Her motives were obvious, and I understood them, but this was my opportunity to cross class boundaries. I needed her connections to meet different kinds of people, while she needed my family's money to protect her family's assets. Back then, she was honest with me about having an ex-boyfriend, but she promised it was all in the past, and everything was over. She wanted to start fresh. My parents were quite taken with her gentle appearance and refined behavior. I have to admit she was indeed charming, and it didn't take long for me to fall for her. I naively thought it would be a win-win situation when our mutual exploitation turned into genuine love. After marriage, I diligently fulfilled all the duties of a good husband. From dating to marriage, Jiang Nuanyuan remained distant and elegant. There was nothing wrong with this. This was my impression of her. Quiet, reserved yet generous, aloof yet gentle. She maintained the same attitude toward me long after our marriage, and I always thought it was just her personality. Until I helped her restore her family's company. And at the celebration party, when everyone was tipsy, her friends began reminiscing about the past. It turned out her ex was named Gu Jincheng, a young master who was a perfect match for the young lady Jiang Nuanyuan. These nearly drunk people described a vivacious and charming Jiang Nuanyuan. I knew as her husband that she was beautiful, but I had never seen her being vivacious. When I looked at Jiang Nuanyuan, her slightly drunk expression revealed obvious longing and reluctance. It seemed her relationship with Gu Jincheng was truly deep and golden. It was me, this unnecessary person with some money, who blocked their path to love. It's hard to say I wasn't hurt. The person sleeping beside me had been thinking of another man all these years. I was the one who was foolishly sentimental. She had only ever used me. But it's fine. To achieve great things, one can't be hindered by romance. If she doesn't love me, so be it. Thanks to her social status, I've been able to interact with various successful and positive entrepreneurs who know how to handle both people and business over these years. These are the real gains I've made. I should thank Jiang Nuanyuan. As long as she maintains my face in public, I'm willing to give her the same respect. After all, in this so-called high society, many couples maintain a courteous facade while living separate lives. Chapter 5. It seemed like half an hour had passed, and Gu Jincheng was still talking endlessly. I couldn't understand how a grown man could be so long-winded. He wasn't tired of talking, but I was tired of listening. Are you done talking? Who likes to hear love stories about their wife and a third party? I'm going to be sick. Hearing this, Gu Jincheng was stunned, his long-maintained elegance nearly crumbling. These people really care about face and can't stand being called a third party. What a joke. If that's the case, he should know better than to get involved. I heard that when Jiang Nuanyuan had problems, you immediately disappeared abroad. Now that she's recovered and returned to her former glory, you're back. Young Master Gu, you really know how to pick your timing. Are you saying all this hoping I'll hand Jiang Nuanyuan over to you? That's not what I meant. There were reasons. After hesitating for a long time, Gu Jincheng only managed to utter these unconvincing words. I really didn't want to listen to another half hour of his nonsense, so I interrupted him. No reason justifies you coming back now to reap the benefits. When she was in trouble, you turned tail and ran. Now that she's endured all the hardships, you've come crawling back. Frankly speaking, You're a disgrace to men. I felt sick continuing to sit face-to-face with Gu Jincheng, so I got up and left after saying my piece. Maybe Gu Jincheng had real reasons for leaving, and if he explained them, Jiang Nuanyuan, who cares for him, would surely believe them. But to me it was all laughable. If Jiang Nuanyuan had overcome her difficulties alone, I would have felt sorry for the foolish girl. But that wasn't the case. I was the one who helped her through the hard times. Yet now Jiang Nuanyuan and Gu Jincheng are in love, and they want me to give them my blessing. That's not how it works. I won't let go of what's mine. Soon I received divorce papers from Jiang Nuanyuan's lawyer. I forwarded them to my lawyer, Zhang Wei. Even through the screen, I could imagine Zhang Wei's troubled expression. The wife's property division proposal is actually very reasonable. Your desire to leave her with nothing is almost impossible, even with evidence of her infidelity, because leaving someone destitute isn't a legal concept. Well, I had hoped for something simpler, but since Jiang Nuanyuan wants to play hardball, don't blame me for being ruthless. Then I won't agree to the divorce. The professional Zhang Wei didn't waste words and replied immediately. If you don't want a divorce, the odds are greatly in your favor. Chinese law is very reluctant to grant divorces. Only bigamy, cohabitation with others, domestic violence, abuse or abandonment of family members, or other serious misconduct would result in a judgment for divorce. As the non-culpable party, if you don't want a divorce, it won't happen for 3 to 5 years. Perfect. I had originally planned to be merciful, to humble her before letting her be with Gu Jincheng, that devoted couple. But unfortunately, now I can only wish them strength one-sidedly. Sure enough, in court, lawyer Zhang was passionate and eloquent, using all his learned skills to convey my love for Jiang Nuanyuan. The judge was nearly moved to tears. The divorce petition was predictably rejected. Imagining Jiang Nuanyuan's elegant face turning green, I almost laughed out loud. But unexpectedly, Gu Jincheng became restless before Jiang Nuanyuan and messaged me. Mr. Lu Junsheng, I really didn't mean to destroy your marriage, but Nuanyuan doesn't love you anymore. What's the use of forcing her to stay? Mr. Gu, don't accuse me of stealing love without reason. I'm not forcing Jiang Nuanyuan to stay. I gave her a chance for divorce. Since you two are so in love, why don't you convince her to agree to leave with nothing and divorce me quickly, then marry you? But why haven't you done that? Admit it, Gu Jincheng. You look down on her when she has nothing. If she really left with nothing, you would abandon her again, just like you did when her family fell from grace. I must say, this so-called elite Gu Jincheng wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants both material benefits and false dignity. After having his thoughts exposed, he left without another word, leaving only a red exclamation mark. Chapter 6. I've never seen such a petty man as Gu Jincheng. I almost felt sorry for Jiang Nuanyuan, who was my wife for 10 years. What terrible taste she had. But my sympathy was premature. That evening, Jiang Nuanyuan came back in a rage, screaming and yelling like a madwoman, even getting physical. For me, since Jiang Nuanyuan was small and thin, her physical attacks couldn't hurt me at all. But I was still shocked. I'd never seen her so hysterical before. I could guess that Gu Jincheng had probably stirred things up, but I never expected Jiang Nuanyuan to lose her composure like this and throw such a tantrum at me. Now my last impression of her as an elegant, refined, and beautiful woman was completely shattered. I had felt some regret about losing my pretty wife to another man, but now, forget it. I wanted nothing to do with such a crazy woman. After dodging her for one night, I felt increasingly uneasy. Who knew what other tricks this despicable couple might pull? Better to stay away. So I decided to leave to Australia. Travel is truly enjoyable when you don't have to worry about work or money. I'm grateful to my past self for working hard. The only thing that still bothered me was seeing money regularly transferred out of our account. It didn't take a genius to figure out that Jiang Nuanyuan was sending it to Gu Jincheng. I wondered if Gu Jincheng had fallen on hard times. Isn't this just being a kept man? I wouldn't even mind him being a kept man, but Jiang Nuanyuan and I weren't divorced yet. As the cheating party, she should leave with nothing. This meant the money she was giving to Gu Jincheng was actually mine. Damn! Angry, I immediately sued Jiang Nuanyuan for unauthorized transfer of marital assets and requested to freeze the account. After more than 2 months, lawyer Zhang brought me the good news that we'd won the case. and Gu Jincheng had to return every cent he received. It was great news, matching perfectly with the blue skies and white clouds here. Though Jiang Nuanyuan could apply to unfreeze the account later, this would give her enough trouble for now. 6 months passed, and when it became possible to file for divorce again, Jiang Nuanyuan didn't waste a day before filing. "Are you still refusing to divorce?" Lawyer Zhang asked me. I answered, "No divorce." Of course I wouldn't divorce unless Jiang Nuanyuan agreed to leave with nothing. But since all pretenses were gone, the only path forward was to fight it out. We'd see who could last longer. Winning a second divorce case wouldn't be as easy as the first. I had to return and appear in court personally. When I saw Jiang Nuanyuan in court, I barely recognized her at first. She looked much more haggard, her once egg-white complexion now marked with dark circles. But most noticeable was her obvious pregnancy. Disgusting. I'd learned recently that the company had been struggling these past few months, especially when the account was frozen. Most of that was my doing, of course. Looking at the gallery, Gu Jincheng was there too, as expected. Unlike Jiang Nuanyuan, he hadn't changed at all, still maintaining that refined, luxurious air. Even more disgusting, Jiang Nuanyuan was truly blind. She deserved to end up like this. And she deserved my ruthlessness for making me so sick. Before the hearing even started, I could sense their anxiety. No wonder. Judging by Jiang Nuanyuan's belly, she was at least 5 months along. If they couldn't get divorced now, they'd have to wait another 6 months to file again. They might be able to wait, but the baby in her belly couldn't. They deserved it. They just made me too sick. Chapter 7. The lawyer they hired this time seemed quite expensive, speaking eloquently. I had to admit their arguments were quite reasonable and well-founded, but it wouldn't matter how well they spoke. To deal with the divorce lawsuit, I spent the last 6 months not only having fun, but also cramming the civil code. Although my situation with Jiang Nuanyuan was complicated, the court needed evidence proving that our marriage had truly broken down to grant a divorce. After mentally preparing myself like comforting a child, I spoke up. I won't divorce. I haven't committed any fundamental mistakes in our marriage, and she's carrying my child. I won't divorce. Upon hearing this, everyone, Jiang Nuanyuan, Gu Jincheng, and even my lawyer Zhang Wei, was bewildered. Jiang Nuanyuan lost her composure and blurted out evidence of her affair. Nonsense. The child isn't his. She froze after saying it, realizing what she'd done, as she cared about face above all else. I fought back my disgust and strongly insisted the child was mine. Jiang Nuanyuan lost it again, shouting that the child wasn't mine. Our lawyers couldn't get a word in as the scene devolved into what seemed like a shouting match. The spectators were confused, who would passionately prove their own infidelity. Even more absurd was the cheated spouse insisting on claiming another man's child as his own. Yet this surreal scene was unfolding right before their eyes, truly eye-opening. Of course I found it absurd to claim another man's child as my own. But I'd already done so many things that hurt both sides. What's one more time? It wasn't about the money anymore, but principle. Agree to divorce and split half my assets with these two cheaters? Absolutely impossible. After several strikes of the gavel came a loud order in the court. The arguing between Jiang Nuanyuan and me, and the whispers from the gallery, immediately stopped. The judge requested the plaintiff to provide DNA evidence, proving the child wasn't the defendant's. Jiang Nuanyuan couldn't provide it, of course. Even with all her cleverness, she couldn't have anticipated this move. So the divorce wasn't granted, and her lawyer fought hard to get a court postponement to gather evidence of her own affair. How laughable. Though disgusting, it was still a victory. I left the court in high spirits, but Jiang Nuanyuan blocked my path. "Lu Junsheng, you're ruthless." Jiang Nuanyuan bit her lip, extremely reluctant. "I'll agree to leave with nothing." Okay. Seems she finally couldn't take it anymore. If this continued, her child would become illegitimate, and in their social circle, nothing was more looked down upon than illegitimate children. Gu Jincheng, approaching from behind, noticeably paused when he heard her agree to leave without assets. I sneered. "Can't hold out any more, and ready to agree? But have you forgotten what I said? Jiang Nuanyuan, this is your last chance. Miss it, and you'll have to deal with me for life. Even if you later agree to leave with nothing, I won't let you go. Don't regret it." Jiang Nuanyuan's face finally completely twisted, and Gu Jincheng, standing a bit further away, had an equally interesting expression. Jiang Nianyuan lost it first and started cursing. But this pampered young lady's cursing skills were quite ordinary. She just kept repeating beast and lunatic, completely harmless. Gu Jincheng, perhaps feeling embarrassed, quietly disappeared into the crowd, while I walked away from her meaningless curses. Let her go crazy. The more she loses it, the more satisfied I feel. Chapter 8. On the way back, Zhang Wei asked me, Mr. Liu, if I may ask a personal question, since she's agreed to leave with nothing, why won't you agree to the divorce? No divorce. Now that she's pregnant, she's even less likely to win against me. I want to wear her down completely. The lawyer fell silent. Although he had been very careful with his tone, I could tell he probably felt some sympathy for Jiang Nianyuan. It makes sense. Someone who only sees the surface would naturally feel pity for Jiang Nianyuan, who's completely vulnerable right now. That's a normal reaction from a normal person. But everyone has their limits. If Jiang Nianyuan had simply apologized sincerely from the start, made proper amends, and agreed to leave with nothing, there wouldn't have been any issue. But she had to provoke me, betray me, so now she can face my wrath. This isn't nearly enough yet. These past few years, besides being a devoted husband to her, I've also built up my career. I know Jiang Nianyuan's company isn't exactly clean. It's time to have someone audit their books. Before noon the next day, a divorce agreement was sent to my phone. Regarding the divorce case, Jiang Nianyuan did get a DNA test proving the child wasn't mine, but I still claimed I loved her deeply and that our marriage wasn't completely broken. In the end, the court ruled against her. I'm so happy. I'm going to order some rice noodles to celebrate. Compared to champagne and steak, common people's food suits me better. But just as I was enjoying my noodles, that person who had left me with a red exclamation mark tried to add me again. How annoying. But I was curious about what he wanted, so I accepted the request. He said, Nianyuan's belly is quite big now. Please let her go. The company is the only thing her parents left her. I'm willing to step aside. Can't you just live well with her? I was completely baffled. The noodles I just slurped fell back into the soup. Is this guy the king of scumbags? The VIP of idiots? Fighting my shaking fingers from nausea, I replied, Are you joking? Her belly is big. So you'll step aside and return her to me? Is that what you mean? What is this buy one get one free? One Jiang Nianyuan comes with your offspring. I had to laugh from anger. Does Gu Jincheng really think I won't agree to divorce because I'm deeply in love with Jiang Nianyuan? Does he take me for some ultimate simp? The typing indicator showed for a long time, but no message came through. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him, so I sent first. You and Jiang Nianyuan, one brain-dead, one idiot. You're perfect for each other. Don't ever separate. Stay locked together. Congratulations. After sending that, I immediately blocked Gu Jincheng with a red exclamation mark. Having contact information for such an idiot in my phone is embarrassing. Not long after, I received a call from the hospital. At first, I thought she was in labor and needed me as her legal husband, but it turned out she'd been hit by a car. When I arrived at the hospital, Jiang Nianyuan was being wheeled into the ICU. Gu Jincheng was there too, looking quite disheveled, quite amusing actually. From the chaos, I pieced together what happened. With the company bankrupt and divorce impossible, Gu Jincheng and Jiang Nianyuan fought constantly. Even on the way to the hospital for her due date, they were arguing. Gu Jincheng, distracted by Jiang Nianyuan while driving, had an accident. Careless driving leads to tragedy. I was pulled into an office where the doctor said, We can't save the baby, and the patient's condition is extremely critical. She needs immediate surgery. The doctor rambled on about various matters, which basically translated to high surgical risk, high cost, low survival rate, and then asked me to sign quickly if I agreed to the surgery. Don't save her. I give up. This time I was genuinely delighted. I'd been dragging out the divorce to wear her down, though it was costly for me too. But now heaven itself wanted to take her away. How could I waste such divine intervention? The moment I signed the form refusing treatment, I felt unburdened, refreshed with a sense of rebirth. After Jiang Nianyuan's death, as her husband, all the property naturally became mine. Her lover got nothing, but I'm a man of sentiment. I had a special gift for Gu Jincheng. Some time later, after Jiang Nianyuan's body was cremated, I met with Gu Jincheng one last time. I didn't want to see him, but I hadn't given him his gift yet. Gu Jincheng clearly didn't want to see me either. He snarled, Nianyuan is dead. Why won't you leave me alone? You make it sound like I'm some kind of monster. I'm here to give you a gift. I held out the white porcelain urn. Here, these are Jiang Nuanyuan's ashes. A woman died for you. Count yourself lucky. Regardless of Jincheng's expression, I turned and left gracefully. With money and leisure in my future, things will only get better for me.